This is Gridiron Gore, where football collides with fear.
Welcome back to Gridiron Gore, where fantasy matchups are deadly serious and every snap might be your last.
This is the only podcast where gridiron greatness and cinematic gore collide like a safety blitz in a haunted house. I'm Devon, your resident football nerd and diehard Steelers fan.
And I'm Paige, your scream queen with a playbook and a penchant for the paranormal. If adrenaline had a soundtrack, it'd be week one. And this is Gridiron Gore. Tonight's episode, buckle up. We're breaking down the NFL's most chaotic storylines, diving into a supernatural horror film with franchise-ending implications, and spotlighting the players whose performances made us scream.
So lock your helmets and your bedroom doors. We're about to hit you with compelling carnage. All right, week one didn't just arrive. It kicked the door down like a final girl with a grudge. Let's talk about the matchups that felt more like movie trailers.
These games had plot twists, betrayals, unexpected heroes, and maybe even a few villains in disguise. Week one was some great football was played this weekend.
It was great football, and then there was some bad football. But we'll get into all of it.
Yeah, the bad was bad, but the good was great.
And there were a lot of surprises, I think you can say, coming out of week one from some teams that didn't really have high expectations, but they kind of shocked us to start off. So, yeah.
So the first team I want to talk about, obviously, is going to be my number one team, the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, versus the Dallas Cowgirls. This game was giving everything that I needed to give. It was very spicy, very chippy from the jump. These two franchises hate each other, and it showed through literally in the opening drive.
Yes, this was a quite different opening drive. There was a lot that happened in the opening drive, so let's kind of dive into all that happened. So on the opening kickoff / kick return, there was a major injury that I think the player might have had a season-ending injury. I'm not sure, but I think it was definitely a lower extremity injury that kind of took him out. In the background was where the real spice was occurring.
The juice.
Obviously, when there's an injury on the field, both teams usually go to their respective areas so that they can allow the medical staff to kind of figure out what's going on. While this is going on, Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles is pretty much a yard or two away from the Cowboys huddle. I'm not sure all of what was being said. We know Dak Prescott spat toward the ground. Jalen Carter.
No, he spat towards Jalen Carter.
He spat
onto the ground.
Towards the ground, towards Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter said, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to spit at you, on you.
After he questioned Dak.
Gone.
So Jalen Carter got ejected from the game for unsportsmanlike conduct. And now just came out today that he was fined $57,000, I think, and a 1-game suspension. But they determined that because he was literally ejected from the game, a minute, if that, had only elapsed from the time, that they're counting game one as his 1-game suspension. So he will be suited up this Sunday against the Chiefs. So we'll just talk quickly because I feel like this was beat with a horse, or they beat the horse dead, whatever that idiom is. Beat it with the dead horse. Anyway, this was talked a lot on Monday, so I don't want to spend too much time discussing what other people had already discussed. But I guess what's your takeaway? What are your thoughts
from the game?
No, we're starting off with the spits all the spats all around the world.
Yeah, Spitgate is what I was calling it on some platforms. I just think It's bad for football. Again, this happened Thursday night.
Yes.
So this was the opening game to start the 2025 season.
With that
Started
bang.
off on a bad foot. I'm not sure.
A bad foot or a good foot? Because the NFL is about ratings and money.
Jerry Jones is about ratings and money.
So that's a good foot for Dallas.
True. I'm not sure if this action triggered an action that happened in college football this weekend, but there was a player in college football who also decided to spit on another player and I'm not sure if he got ejected, but there were 2 spitting incidences in football this past last week to the weekend. I'm not a fan for it. I would have rather them just fight. If Jalen Carter had felt some type of way about what Dak said, or if he felt like the spit was aimed toward him, I'd rather have this fight and take the person out where you'll still stay in the game.
Yeah.
Versus a spit. Like this, spitting on someone is like extremely disrespectful.
Very.
I mean, I know you guys are opponents in the game. I don't think y'all hate each other on that level to spit on someone. Obviously, I knew that Jalen Carter wasn't going to be suspended past this week. Troy Vincent, who is like one of the either vice president or something high up in the NFLPA, is a former Eagles player. So I really didn't expect them to lay the law down on Jalen Carter because of that connection.
I mean, you weren't saying this straight out the gate, but I'll let you have that take today. I'll let you have that take today. That wasn't your original take, but I'll let you have
gotta
that.
keep you a surprise. I can't just have you know my every hand. Okay. But yeah, I'm okay with the suspension. Again, he didn't. Yeah. Not a down on football was played, so I can see it as the 1 game suspension. I know Chris Paul and Rondo had a spitting incident. That was probably the most recent spitting incident prior to this in NBA, but I'm not sure exactly what the ruling was or how long he was suspended, what was the fine for that, or if that played into how the NFL kind of, laid out what their guidelines were. But not a fan for it. I'd rather you guys fight on the field and just do cans like that, and at least you both can still stay in the game and play on.
Yeah. So that spit wasn't the only spice of the game. The first half was very chippy on both sides, but also it was, I think, high power on offense for both sides. So for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb and Dak, man, I do not like to give the Cowboys any kind of credit. But they looked very dangerous and spicy, the tandem, in the first half. Dak looked like he was back in his pre-injury form, and it was good. So what are your thoughts? I guess talk me through
what I saw from the game, my takeaways.
What do you think was, so the theme of this week's episode is compelling. On the Cowboys side, what was compelling about their game?
So I would say what seemed compelling about their game is that they were able to move down the field in ways that we didn't anticipate going into the season. Mm-hmm. So we thought with the acquisition of George Pickens that this would be like a very high-powered throwing downfield, getting the yards that way. It wasn't at a volume as I would have expected it to be. From watching the game, Javonte Williams, who they picked up from Denver Broncos last year, had a really great game on the ground. I know he had 2 rushing touchdowns, which kind of set the tone for them. But also
in the first half.
Yeah, in the first half. But I wonder if this game plan changed with the ejection of Jalen Carter, who is a great run stopper in the middle, and you adjust your game strategy to what's presented to you in a given time.
So, I hate to cut you off. Mm-hmm. Dak said that in a post-game press conference. So, they literally changed their game on the fly because of Jalen Carter's ejection, and that they had game planned all week around his presence.
And I think it worked, that adjustment, because obviously, again, you were able to move the ball on the ground. And, like, as you know from watching the Dallas documentary, the Cowboys are heavily known for being a really good run game, ground and pound. So you develop.
Well, they were that in the 90s.
Yeah, they were in the 90s. They got back into that when it, like, later 2000s when Marion Barber got there. They've had a really good backfields in the past. They had DeMarco Murray, who was probably one of the most unstoppable backs when he, like, in his first 5 years. Then came in Ezekiel Elliott, who had his fair share of leading the league in rushing. So it's good to see that. I mean, we don't really support Cowboys, but it's good to see that they are able to kind of get back to what they are known for doing, which is running the ball and passing the ball at a high level. So it was good to see that.
So then I have a question for you.
Yes.
Then you're happy to see them get back into, I guess, a more dominant run game, but then what was the purpose of acquiring George Pickens when they were looking for another weapon to complement CD?
Listen, it's not always bad discovering something that you weren't planning on needing to utilize. So I don't think the plan for them this season was to really. I don't think they thought they would find a running back that would be able to give us some sort of production like Javonte Williams did in Week 1. They brought in 3 new running backs, so they're all potentially really trying out to see who really is going to be that number 1 back. And I think given Week 1's production, Javonte Williams shows that he still has the ability to run the ball and do it at a volume that can support the pass game. I still think Dak and CD and George Pickens is what their offense is going to be about, but I think having the ability to run the ball also will help be able to create those plays downfield, because now you have to honor both. I mean, every team would want to have a balance where you're able to run the ball so you can help create
Not be
yourself
one-dimensional.
Exactly. So you're able to create those possible big plays by drawing the defense in.
So the Cowboys aren't the only team to change their offensive game plan because a major edge rusher was taken out the game. So prior to Thursday, we had, I guess you can call it a blockbuster trade of...
Yes, that's exactly what a blockbuster trade is, yes.
Of Micah Parsons leaving the Cowboys to go to Green Bay, which shocked me. I didn't think they would allow him to be traded to a team within the conference, but neither here nor there. So Dallas's premier marquee defensive player was out of the game. And it seemed like the Eagles took advantage of that on offense with a lot of running. So what were your major takeaways, or what did you find compelling about the Eagles' performance Thursday?
So from the Eagles side, I think the Eagles did what they were best at. I want to give credit to both sides, right? Or both sides of this trade, because and we'll get to the Packers at some point, but for the Cowboys in bringing that trade in, they brought in Kenny Clark from the Packers. Kenny Clark, I think, had a huge impact on limiting the amount of design runs that Saquon had. So I think, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but Saquon had less than like 75 yards rushing and like had a average per carry like below 4, which is coming off the season Saquon had. That's great from a Dallas standpoint. But on the other side, with Jalen Hurts at quarterback and the Cowboys not having that edge rusher, it gave Jalen Hurts more time to extend plays, to find those creases as a passer that ultimately helped him get to 60 or something rushing yards with those 2 touchdowns that he was able to get on the ground. From a passing perspective, we got to see more out of Jalen Hurts. Me personally, I got to see more out of Jalen Hurts. But you take what the defense gives you. And if they're not giving you those open passes, use your legs, which he did he did great. I'll say Jalen Hurts did great on the ground. Got his team a win. That game was down to pretty much the end when CeeDee Lamb started dropping the passes. So it was he willed his team to a win.
I have a lot to say, and I'm trying to organize and bring my thoughts down. But so on both sides or both teams, all the scoring was mainly happening in the first half of the game.
Yeah.
Eagles get their final field goal in the third quarter, but it was pretty much silent in the second half. What kind of? I know we had that lightning delay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
But do you find that concerning for either team that no one was really able to put up points or do anything of significance in the second half?
So what I would say from the Eagles side, I don't think the Eagles offense will be so flat going forward. I don't see AJ Brown only getting one catch going forward. I don't see Devontae Smith getting 3 catches for like 15 yards going forward. So these were some anomalies that just occurred week 1. The Cowboys have a pretty good defense, a great secondary. He just paid Deron Bland, who was an all-pro not too long ago. So I think the second half with the delays, that stops momentum. Again, a lot of bickering back and forth between the teams. There was just a lot going, a lot of emotions on both sides. So I think once, they got that out there, first game of the year, I think on both sides going forward, they'll be better.
This will be my last question.
Yeah.
Because you brought up something that just popped into my mind.
Yeah.
The Eagles secondary, to me, a novice, they look scary out there. Like, I'm concerned as an Eagles fan.
Scary bad or scary good?
Scary bad. Like,
well, I think
nervous.
I think they got the problem person out of the starter or in the role he was playing, because I'm not sure if he was starting. Dory Jackson. This is the person I'm identifying as the problem person. But also, this all trickles back down to Jalen Carter. You take away one of your best defensive linemen. This gives Dak more time to pass. This causes more opportunities for a breakdown in coverage.
Because CD was
Jalen Carter, you have to be more smart about your decisions, because what you do not only impacts you, it impacts your team and that defense. So be smarter, Jalen Carter. That rhymes.
All right.
Make a little jingle.
Eagles, thank you so much for holding it down for opening weekend against those people, because I could not have stomached a loss to the Cowboys, especially on opening weekend. So good job. Now I want to move to what honestly to me I feel like is game of the week. I thought this was like the best game of Sunday, which is the Steelers versus Jets. Like, who thought it was going to be a shootout between 42-year-old, well, entering his 42-year age season, Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith's offense with the New York Jets?
Well, I like to say I was rattled throughout most of the game. Will didn't help at all with that, with his Justin Fields comments about him killing my defense, which he did at a very high level. And we have some concerns as well that I'm hoping Tomlin addresses this week. But I think this was a very good game for both teams. I think both of these acquisitions that each team took, us getting Aaron Rodgers, them getting Justin Fields, worked in both of our favors, right? So I say that, and I'm happy Justin Fields left and that we didn't keep Justin Fields, because Arthur Smith's offensive scheme does not fit running style quarterbacks. This has shown itself when he was in Tennessee with Marcus Mariota. He benched him for a pocket behind under center, no mobility Ryan Tannehill. This happened again when Arthur Smith got the head coaching job in the Atlanta Falcons. His starting quarterback again, Marcus Mariota, who he ended up benching again.
Maybe he just has beef with Marcus.
He got beef with quarterbacks that could move and don't want to really do. I don't know what his beef is, but clearly he has a bad record with or bad history with mobile quarterbacks. So I'm glad that we didn't, so that we wouldn't stunt Justin Fields' potential in the NFL. Us getting Aaron Rodgers, this is exactly what he likes to do. He likes to be under center. He likes to use multiple tight ends, which we have like 5 active tight ends, which I don't understand for the life of me. And again, you see both pay out. On the Jet side, they got new coaches everywhere. So Aaron Glenn's new head coach, first head coaching gig, coming from the Detroit Lions. He brings over the pass coordinator or passing coordinator as the offensive coordinator for the Jets now. As you have this opportunity to now be your offensive coordinator, you can build your schemes around what your personnel is, right? So when he was in that passing coordinator role with Detroit, he's still working under Ben Johnson. So it's really Ben Johnson's offense. He's just learning, implementing what Ben Johnson's doing. Now it's your chance to call a shot. So you can build from bottom up, and now this becomes your identity as an offense coordinator. So we've seen a lot of read options. We saw a lot of zone reads that was being used. We've never seen Jared Goff do his own read or a read option in Detroit with Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator or as his guy's the passing coordinator. So you know that this offense was newly developed to support who was on the team. So I want to give a kudos to the Jets because they ran all over the Steelers defense, and we're known to be like really big run stoppers. We usually, at least in the past, we've been giving up most of our big plays in pass game or freakish Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry things. I believe, what's the amount of yards that Breece Hall had against us on the ground? Do you have that available?
Breece, he had 19 carries for 107 yards, and he had 2 receptions for 38 yards.
Do we have Justin Fields rushing yards by chance?
I do, but before that, let's talk things out because this is about compelling storylines. Yeah. So I want to talk about Arthur Smith as offensive coordinator. And is he really effective? Does he need to have a job? Should he still have a job? So on Sunday night, Justin Fields was 16 for 22 attempts, 218 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 sack. He had a QBR of 119.1, 48 rushing yards, and scored 2 touchdowns running. His last year with Steelers under Arthur Smith, he only had 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was throwing an average of 110.6 yards per game, sacked 16 times. He had 289 rushing yards, and his record was 4-2. I mean, it's only one game. Week 1 is a liar. We don't want to be overreacting. But like you already mentioned, Justin Fields is I felt like Sunday was a coming out party for him. But also Aaron Rodgers, to speak on that, he was sacked 4 times on Sunday. He was 22 for 30 attempts, 244 passing yards, and a QBR rating of 136.7. I know you talked about that Aaron fits more of the type of schemes that Arthur likes to run. But I believe Aaron was doing better when he was not following the script in the parts where he had to improvise.
Yeah.
So that goes against Arthur Smith's scheming and offensive play calling. Now I don't even know what my question is. Do you think Arthur Smith is going to last long as the play caller? Do you think Aaron Rodgers is sustainable under him?
So before I answer, I just want to go back to the play calling and the abilities to check. So given that Aaron Rodgers is a vet in the game and has the experience, he knows more or feels comfortable more checking at the line of scrimmage. That's what like a lot of like Tom Brady used to do all the time. Peyton Manning would be at the line, using the whole play clock, checking out of formation based on what's provided for you. I think this goes back to coaches not coaching anymore, where they're not giving quarterbacks the freedom and range to be able to do that, and they're just so used to just going based off of what's been called. So most times a quarterback will have like a kill play or like a kill route or something that they do to check outside of that. Aaron Rodgers and like those veteran guys who are no longer in the game, they would have other checks or more detailed checks to pretty much turn that one play that you had to something totally new. So I think, only to answer your question, you said that R. Smith was going to have issues or is he going to keep his job? What was that the question?
Sure.
He'll keep his job as long as him and Aaron Rodgers don't conflict. Of course, they continue to win and the offense is productive. Because as long as the offense is productive, I don't see why he won't be there.
Do you think it's sustainable for the Steelers to be in a shootout like this with folks every game?
Our defense has to do better than that. We cannot give up 30 points a game. That's not Steelers defense. That's not our identity. So, no.
As the highest paid defensive unit in the league,
I
can't be
outside of TJ, and I guess Jalen Ramsey's contract. I don't know who else we paying. Maybe Cam Hayward. I'm not sure what his contract is, but you know how we can get some money. Well, that's not on defense. It'll be offense side. Get rid of Cam Hayward's brother, the fifth tight end on the roster.
That's what you're just campaigning for.
I don't get it, but
so another storyline I want to talk about with the Steelers and Jets, because I feel like we're not really giving this game the justice it deserves. Because I thought this was an awesome game.
Yeah, it was.
Let's talk about the coaches. So Mike Tomlin has been with the Steelers for 19 years. He has the longest tenure as a head coach in the NFL.
Yep.
He's never had a losing record. They always make it to the playoffs, but with the last since 2025 decade maybe, they haven't had much production in the playoffs, and in the last few years, I don't have the numbers in front of me, they've been one and done.
Yes. So
hold on. Sorry. I didn't say anything yet. And so many of us were stunned when Tomlin and Omar Khan decided to put their chips in on an aging and soon to be retiring quarterback to save the franchise and potentially save their jobs. Is week one an indicator of success for the Steelers and Tomlin's stay?
I'm gonna say no. I don't think it's providing them any job security yet, just because it's week one. And I think, no offense to the Jets, I think everyone had the Steelers beating the Jets. Yes. I think if anything, the Jets outperformed their week one expectations by everyone, by even putting up 30 points with a new quarterback, new offensive, new head coach, new everything on that team. So no, I don't think this is any indication that their jobs are safe. It's a step in the right direction, but I wouldn't comfortably say that this is securing their job security just after week one.
So let's say Aaron Rodgers is giving us 2020 and earlier Aaron Rodgers before he started to really go downhill in Green Bay and then crash out at the Jets. You guys make it to the playoffs, and let's say you win the first game, but that's it. You lose in the second round of the playoffs.
We win a playoff game?
You win one.
He keeps his job.
Okay. So you make it to the playoffs and do exactly what you've always done. What's happening with the franchise?
What's our record? Although we lost...
You're doing typical Tomlin things of you're having a winning season.
Because it's different. So let's say we we have the best record in NFL.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm just saying. Let's say I'm gonna give you a few different parameters.
Yeah, but let's just stick to. We're on a time. We have time constraints, so let's stick to realistic scenarios. You guys go what? Is it 17 games? 18 games in the
18
season?
regular seasons.
So you
games.
go 10-8.
10-7.
10-7.
Okay.
And 1 and done in the playoffs. What's happening? Was Aaron Rodgers worth it? Does Tomlin leave?
Depends who we lose to and by how much. Like if we lose to the Bills, who right now is ranked number 1,
you lose to you played the Ravens last year, right?
Yeah.
You lose to the Ravens again in the same fashion that you guys lost last season.
I think they keep him still. I don't think it's enough to
Are you signing Aaron back?
I think he said this is his last year anyway, but
No, he said he was going to see how it goes.
Well, if he has a good year and the reason why we don't win the playoff game is because of him, I don't see why not. Why I say that is it gives us time to develop at least Will Howard, who's under him right now as a backup.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers is really playing the role of mentor and developer?
I didn't hear that he had any bad things toward Jordan Love. He had more issues.
He was pissed that
he was
drafted
pissed that the
him
organization did, but from what I've heard, he never showed any of that bad ill towards Jordan Love and didn't help him develop. At least that's from what I heard. I don't know how true some of that is, and Will Howard said that he's learning a lot from Aaron Rodgers.
We all watched Hard Knocks 2 years ago, 3 years ago, however long that was. They all said, "Oh, we love Aaron Rodgers. We're learning so much from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is so great." And then look what happened.
Look what happened to what?
To the Jets.
They didn't have a good team. Are you talking about when he got hurt?
I'm talking about his whole time at the Jets. In Hard Knocks, it was a love story of...
We're talking about the players, not the...
Yes!
The play. What players hated him there?
He was destroying the locker room.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying I don't know what... If he does good and we lose a close
Y'all
game in
win
the
one
playoffs,
game with Aaron Rodgers and now...
I'm all in now. I got no choice. I'm all in. Super Bowl battle, nothing. For me. But. All
right, this is last. We got to move on. But I want to give him his flowers because I'm just so happy. Aaron Glenn, this was his, just as much as it felt like a coming out party for Justin Fields, for us to see the skill and talent that he has. This was great to see Aaron Glenn also come into a dysfunctional franchise, and I'm saying that as someone that's a Jets fan and has Jets paraphernalia, and cheers for the Jets and was stressed Sunday. But he came into a dysfunctional franchise. It seems like it's a new culture in there. The offense they were fast moving. There were good reads. Defense left something to be desired. But I think overall, like you said, the Jets outperformed what many people had expected them to do.
Yeah.
And now the expectation moving forward is that this was not a week one lie, that this is something to expect from them.
Yeah, I think the AFC East is not just a clear, straight path for the Buffalo Bills as I thought it would have been prior to this past weekend. Dolphins are washed. Patriots, they still have a young quarterback.
Drake May was giving me numbers on the bench. He was giving me numbers in fantasy.
That's a different story when you got to play that Jets defense and the Bills defense. But
when Quinnen Williams is coming at you.
Yeah, that defensive line, man. Oof, they know how to pressure. I tell you, I didn't think his old ass was gonna get up after some of those hits.
All right. Go Jets. We got this. And Steelers, y'all know my heart, but it's just so hard for me this season with who you guys chose to put under center. But moving on, I think this is probably the other big game that everyone was talking about. I fell asleep on, and I didn't see much of any of it. But it was the Ravens and the Bills. Many are calling this the rematch from last year. Many consider, even though I think folks understand this is week one, and overall both teams are going to have winning seasons. Both teams are going to go to the playoffs, but this is kind of like who's going to be the one to take down the Chiefs. But it's the Ravens versus the Bills. This is another high-scoring game that broke records. But it was Ravens 40, Bills 41. And Josh Allen, Superman, won it for the Bills at the end of the game. So what are your takeaways? What are your thoughts?
My takeaways from this game is that no lead is safe. When you do have a lead, don't get comfortable because that shit only aids to your downfall. Josh Allen is great at comebacks when it's not against Pat Mahomes. And the Ravens got to let Lamar Jackson just play when they're up and need to close the game out. And I can get into the game more in detail because I watched the game from beginning to end. I was hurt the next morning because staying up for that game. Derrick Henry, what a guy. What a guy. Like, I think I talked smacked about him when I did my ranking.
You did.
Talking about his age.
You did.
And this man went out there and put up.
He's insane. 169 yards.
169 yards, 2 touchdowns. And it's like he just takes the will out of the players he plays against because that's a big guy and he be outrunning little guys.
Yes.
Like
a tank, a monster.
Like there was one point where he broke through the hole and the guy was literally side by side by him, and then Derrick Henry just took off. I was like, man, that's one person that I would not want to have to tackle over and over again.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. So you talked about how something that you took away from this game are that a lead is never safe. So according to ESPN, at the 4-minute and 48 mark when the Ravens were up, their win probability was 99.1%. Yeah. They had enough to determine that you is the pappy, like paternity test, DNA, high level percentage of winning. And they won.
You want to know something?
And and they lost.
That Bills was that 0.9. Josh Allen was the 0.9 in that equation.
And so Buffalo's the fourth team since 2000 to win a game after trailing by 15 plus points in the final 4 minutes. They were the first team to do that since 2017. And the stat for winning with that huge deficit is 4 to 2,312 losses.
Yep, that's a comma. 2,312. That's the wrong side of history you don't want to be a part of. And now they are. So I think this all happened with the Derrick Henry fumble, right? So I don't want to say Derrick Henry got a little aggressive towards the end of the game, but he's in the hole. He breaks one tackle. He goes for the stiff arm while still in a bunch of traffic, which you wouldn't normally do that in traffic because you don't have it. Usually you do it when you're in open field. You have your outside arm available. No one's around you to possibly create a play. He tried to stiff arm Cuz in the hole, and the person who tried to stiff arm punched it out.
I love when defense players do that.
me personally, even after that happened, even after the Bills scored that one, I'm still gonna put the ball back in Derrick Henry's hands because he and Lamar Jackson have to be the one to close out that game.
So then, isn't the issue the coaching decision, not necessarily Derrick Henry's fumble, but the decision to punt it instead of putting the ball back in Lamar's hands?
And Josh?
No. The Ravens decided to punt.
Yes.
Instead of going for it.
Yes.
So I'm saying coaching made the wrong decision of punting and not giving it back to Lamar to do Lamar / Derrick Henry things.
I agree. So I think he made even worse decisions leading up to that before the even punt got there. So first down, you give the ball to Derrick Henry. Second play, you do a jet sweep to, I believe, Zay Flowers. That's not, you don't do that when you're trying to close out a game with a defense that...
But you do that when Zay Flowers is on Paige's fantasy team.
Well, I mean...
He was on the bench anyway, so it didn't matter.
I don't think that jet sweep would have gave you anything anyway. But I think coming down to, and even that drive before then, like, you don't have to be as... Let me do everything I can to not lose the ball game, because that's how you lose ball games. You keep putting your foot on the gas. Because honestly, the Bills wasn't stopping the Ravens' offensive when you know they're running their offense versus, all right, let me just hand off left, hand off right to kill the clock. You got to continue to keep them honest, because in the situation where Derrick Henry, before the fumble came out, I'm pretty sure it was a stack box because we know they're going to try to kill the clock by running the ball. But yeah, I think even when they got down to that point, that it should have been 4-down territory, because at that point when you're punting them the ball, you have to rely on your defense, who could not stop them at that point. They could not stop them at that point. So I'd rather, if we don't get this first down on 4th and 2, it's shorter field. You can't use as much clock against us so that we can't get another chance to get the ball back. But if we stop you, that's ball game right there. So
are the Ravens not investing enough in their defense and developing the defense, paying attention to the defense?
That's the thing about it. I thought they had the best defense. Like, with the acquisitions they made in the offseason, I thought it would make them a better defense. And the only person that they brought in was the reason why they lost, because he got cooked that entire last drive. Jair Alexander from Green Bay Packers. I thought he was a key to that, or thought he would be a key to that team that would make them like lock down in the secondary. And when I tell you Keenan Coleman had a breakout game last night, or
thank you,
not last
sir.
night, but Monday night, Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday. Oh,
he was cooking him. Josh Palmer, who the Bills acquired from the Chargers, was cooking him. They was taking turns kicking his ass. And as an offense, a coordinator, and as a quarterback, you identify who is not playing the best on that defense. You keep going at them. And kudos to Josh Allen, because he identified the weak point in that defense and was cooking them.
So last question for you. This is going to be a real quick question.
What's up?
Josh Allen threw for 394 yards, 2 throwing touchdowns. He 14 rushes for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns in that way. In the fourth quarter alone, he had 251 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, a passer rating just in the fourth quarter of 131.1, 0 interceptions the entire game. He's also the 4th reigning MVP with 4+ touchdowns in week 1. Is Josh Allen going for consecutive league MVP?
He had a hell of a showcasing for it in the statement game for it. I say, yeah. If he can keep this up at that volume, yeah, I'd say so. But to be fair, as someone who watched that game, he got lucky with some things. So there was I think Keenan Coleman's first touchdown was off of a tip pass.
Yes.
So
he was not the
he
intended
got
target.
bailed out for sure on that one. But again, his output on the ground game, I think although he had the 2 touchdowns, I think the 30 yards on 14 rushes, you can see that going up. Like that's a low for him.
Yeah.
But I think he's not always going to be throwing for 390 on a weekly basis. So I can see those areas fluctuating. Changing. Yeah. So.
All right, very quickly because we're running out of time. I just want to give you the floor to put on your cape for Daniel Jones and his performance
DJ
in the Colts versus Dolphins.
Listen, I think if the Steelers would have lost and Daniel Jones would have won with the performance he had, that would have made my day right there. Because for the life of me, everyone hates Daniel Jones. They don't think he should be a quarterback in the NFL. They think, oh, he's stealing money. Blase, blase. Look at him now. I know it was week 1, probably overreaction because of the team they play. Dolphins, they're terrible. They're going to be terrible. Their defense isn't great. But he played a flawless game. No interceptions. Had a lot of. I think they might have scored on almost all of their drives. They scored on.
They did on. Daniel Jones led the team to score on every possession in the first half.
Listen, he wasn't doing that in New York. I tell you that.
He was not.
What I told my friends and everyone who said, "Oh yeah, Daniel Jones. I'm glad we got rid of him." Blase, blase. He didn't have anything to work with the Giants. Like if you really go,
he had Malik Neighbors. He's had Saquon Barkley.
Malik Neighbors was getting that rock too when he was there. Like the Giants and the organization and that GM, the front office, we've seen they don't know how to put together a team. We see how they misuse Saquon, and maybe misuse may not be the right word. They didn't have the supporting cast to support Saquon, and so there comes a point in time where if there's a player that has potential, if they go somewhere else, they're gonna be able to utilize their talents more. Saquon was a perfect example. Xavier McKinney, great example in Green Bay. I think he led the league or the top 5 in interceptions last year. What happens when you go to a better organization that know how to do things better coaching. Daniel Jones, week 1, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdowns, 272 yards. I think he's in the top 5 for fantasy. I think he's top 5 passing yards from quarterbacks. I'm a happy man. He made me proud. DJ, I'm rooting for you, buddy. Keep going. Keep going. Keep proving them wrong. I support you. Don't let me down, buddy. Week 1 didn't feel like a kickoff. It felt like an ambush.
So after all that brawls and quarterback chaos, you might think week 1 couldn't get any darker.
But football isn't the only place where legacies get cursed and leaders lose control.
Next up, we're crossing over from the turf to the tomb because if the NFL had an exorcist, it'd be watching The Conjuring Final Rites.
This is Horror Mirror, and the reflection, it's about to get ugly.
All right, this week's Horror Mirror reflects a franchise closing its final circle, The Conjuring Final Rites.
Legacy, curse, faith, collapse. That film is a haunted hope, and it's got a lot in common with what we're seeing in the NFL.
All right, so we watched The Conjuring Final Rites on Friday.
Yep.
I'm going to try to do a very, very quick summary because I don't really want to spoil it because it's still so new. But in the final Conjuring, it takes us back to when Ed and Lorraine first started out on their very first investigation of a haunt. It's a cursed mirror. Lorraine is pregnant. She sees something scary, freaks out, and then goes into labor. They leave the haunt before finishing their investigation and doing an exorcist, or even taking the mirror. She gives birth. The baby comes out stillborn. She prays and prays and prays. The baby comes back, is revived. I'm going to assume through the miracle of our Lord. Um, and then she sees a demon in the hospital room. And then we cut forward to, I guess, what would be present day, which is, I think it's the 80s.
Yes.
And then it's centered around the Searles, I think is how you pronounce their last name, and the haunting of their house and that same mirror. And so pretty much the whole movie is about this demon potentially possessing Ed and Lorraine's daughter that's been kind of waiting and stalking the Warrens to come back. And Lorraine's struggle with having the typical of what we know her to be of wanting to save other families and being strong and confident in doing the right thing versus when that danger is directly impacting her family, either Ed in his heart or his daughter getting possessed, she kind of crumbles and cowers into something else. And so it's about that journey of really fighting that demon that's stalking and haunting you. And so it made me think of two teams, and two teams that we just literally talked about. So the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. The Bills are still trying to, well, really both teams are trying to break through the road through Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and get to the Super Bowl, but both have their own individual struggle on how to get there. And so the Bills have been trying to get to the Super Bowl. Well, excuse me, let me back up. The Bills have had 4 Super Bowl appearances, all in the 90s.
They got whooped every time.
Well, they got whooped by the Cowboys in 93 and 94. It was a bit of a closer game when they lost to the Giants in Washington. But the Bills have made it to the promised land 4 times, or at least to the gates, and haven't been able to break through. And the Ravens, I think, have, to me, in my opinion, you felt like The Conjuring best fit the Bills. I think it best fits the Ravens because we see Lamar Jackson have these outstanding regular season careers. Last season in the regular season, I think it was like his best career, statistically his best career. And yet every time he gets into the playoffs, he's not playing like regular season Lamar, and they're beating themselves or they're losing to themselves. And also John Harbaugh, who is kind of like another Mike Tomlin, he's the second longest NFL coach or tenure with an NFL team. He has won a Super Bowl, but hasn't been back since, and he's been with the Ravens for 18 years. So it feels like both teams have this demon on their back. Lamar, for sure, I think it's a mental block or lack of confidence that he's struggling with to get through. But both teams this year, I think, have the pressure, maybe the Ravens more than the Bills, to fight that demon and break through.
Gotcha. So I'm going to take it from another point of view, I guess. So I'd say from a coaching standpoint, I'd do that mirror with Harbaugh, right? Because like you said, second longest tenure right behind Tomlin, joined the Ravens a year after Tomlin. But from a franchise perspective, that haunting is definitely more on the Bills. So to get there I think it was 4 years in a row.
Yes, 91 through 94.
Got there 4 years in a row. Had probably some of the better teams then because they had Jim Kelly at quarterback, Thurman Thomas at running back. They had Bruce Smith defense in, probably one of the top 10 defensive players in NFL history. And the fall short 4 years in a row, kind of diabolical. You know what I mean? I'd rather not go there 4 times or just not just not go there than to go there 4 times and lose. I don't know. That's just heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. Like you're doing everything you need to prepare for it, and then you can't finish the deal. So, and what I say regarding Lamar Jackson, um, he's had woes in the playoffs, whether it's not being able to finish the season to play in the playoffs, which has happened to the Ravens a few times, where Tyler Huntley had to play playoffs and they couldn't manage out of that. Or when he's in the playoffs, like you mentioned, he's not playing like how Lamar Jackson plays. I think in order for them to win, he has to do what he does. Like you can't change who you are and your identity just because you're now in the postseason. That's the easiest way to losing in the postseason is trying to be something you're not. Buffalo, I mean, this might be the year. I don't know. I want to jinx it. I mean, they already got the jinx on them from Hard Knocks because they hosted Hard Knocks, but there's such a storyline behind it now. Josh Allen just got married in the off season. This is their last season in their stadium. I think this is still the same stadium that they were playing with back in the 90s when they were in the whatever. So it's a lot of storyline for the Bills for this to be their year to overcome their woes, overcome that demon haunting them for 30 some odd years, and now they can break that curse by smashing the mirror, by smashing the stadium, destroying the stadium.
So here's my question. I'm going to bring it back to the Ravens.
Yeah.
So in the movie, Lorraine, her biggest fear, it seems, obviously, I think it's both. She has fear for both her husband and her daughter. But we see her daughter like grow up through the years, and her daughter is a sensitive of some sort like Lorraine. And instead of teaching her daughter how to embrace that gift, Lorraine was teaching her how to suppress things so she wouldn't see the bad things in the darkness. Because Lorraine was scared that she wouldn't be able to protect her daughter, was scared that her daughter couldn't handle the weight of that gift. Lorraine was also afraid for Ed because of his heart, and Ed's love for Lorraine is he gets stressed out trying to help her and save her, which then stresses his heart out and causes him to have heart attacks. And the way that he dropped that pill bottle, I don't mean to spoil the movie, but that scene pissed me off. But anyway, I think of Lamar, and to your point of you can't play, like you have to play within yourself. You shouldn't change how you play just because it's a playoff game, because that's how you lose. So what is Lamar afraid of? What is he, like, what's the lack of confidence? And I don't even know if that's it, but like, what is he holding back from, or what is he changing? What is he trying to protect himself or the team from, the way that Lorraine was so much more conservative in decisions when it came to her daughter and her husband?
I don't know. I mean, from how I've seen Lamar in these postseasons in the last few years, or the times he's been healthy in the postseasons, it's like I'm not sure if I don't want to blame the weather as an issue, and because it's cold, you're not utilizing your legs as much, or do you feel like you need to you have to do it the way that the haters say you can't do, which is being a predominantly passer, right? Which he's shown he's a passer. Last year, his stats were astronomical as a passer.
Yes.
But I think that at the end of the day, that might be the thing that's getting in his head, that then I can't be the one that to be the reason we lose, and he continues to be the reason that they lose because of you lose. So I think it might be a mental issue. I also trying to think back to him in college. Has he ever played like in a like a bowl game championship? I know there wasn't the playoffs back then when he was in college. I don't believe. I could be wrong with that. But I don't think he's played in like a massive game like that. So it might just be the pressure of those bigger games where, all right, if I lose this one, you go home type of thing, which is also is an issue. Some players can't win in those big games, no matter how good they are. Especially if you're matched up against another competitor.
But he's now played in multiple playoff games, so he knows what it's like to be on the big stage.
I mean, Jim Kelly knew what it was like to be on the big stage, and it's just sometimes you plateau. But I think Lamar's issue is that he plays outside of himself in those games. And I think with him being the vocal leader on the offense, hopefully maybe Derrick Henry being in that now 2 years in, maybe he'll be able to help him take some of that pressure. The need that I gotta do it all myself. That let me try to force stuff that I shouldn't be forcing rather than using my legs, which still work. But again, I'm also not sure if the weather also plays an issue into like how he plays. I know he'd be saying he'd be cold out there, but I wouldn't really say that's an issue. But yeah, he just got to play like himself.
All right, so who you think's gonna break through and beat the Chiefs? Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? And claim the AFC.
I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson.
All right. You put it on vinyl. It's official. We're gonna play this back.
I don't even think the Chiefs is gonna. Neither one of those teams will have to play the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Who would take them out? Denver?
The Broncos is going to take them out. I think the Broncos. Listen, Chiefs is last in the AFC West right now.
It's week 1.
They gotta play the Chiefs twice, the Chargers twice, or one more time. They gotta play the Broncos twice. Yeah. They gotta play the Raiders twice. It's not as they got Eagles this week, so they could go down 0-2. They should go down 0-2.
Yeah, let's talk that into existence.
If the NFL,
they will go down.
The script, yeah. Taylor, the Swifties and Arrowhead next
Maybe
week.
she won't be there next week. So
listen,
she's also an Eagles fan though.
Not when the Chiefs is playing, and not when not when Taylor's Travis Swift is on the team.
All right. Well, for those that are curious, I highly recommend seeing The Conjuring Last Rites. Well done, well written, well executed, well acted. The Devil Made Me Do It is the one that came out during COVID. That is an anomaly for the franchise.
Like Derrick Henry fumbling.
So if you don't let that dictate whether or not you pick back up with them, I thought it was a great ending and closure to the Conjuring franchise. But we all know that there are more offshoots from that. And so I think there's definitely more coming from them. It's just the end of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And I thought it was well done. So if you're on the fence, curious, you should definitely go see Conjuring Last Rites. And so that movie teaches us that some teams aren't just fighting their opponents, they're fighting their past, which would be the Bills. They're fighting their faith, which is Lamar Jackson, and they're fighting their fan base's ghost, which is everybody.
Yeah. And in the NFL, belief is a contract with consequences. All right. So now we're going to shine the flashlight on some players who stepped into the spotlight and looked ready for their own horror franchise.
These are the Scream Kings of Week 1. The guys who made your jaw drop, your fantasy app crash, and your defense cry for help.
All right, perfect. So I've been looking forward to getting into this segment. So we're going to start out with what I'm going to call the fantasy boomers for Week 1.
Well, hold on. First, I want to start by asking, how did you fare Week 1?
I went 0 for 7 in the fantasy leagues that I'm in. You don't win championships in week 1, so this is okay. I'd rather get the losses out early, see what my team's really about, see what these like the NFL teams themselves, how they're looking as organizations to determine how I will be playing my players going forward. Um, you know, I I'm in a league where one of my friends, he's been ranked 1 every year and since he's been in the league and he hasn't won a chip yet. So Rob, I'm sorry you had to catch that straight bullet, but it ain't how you start, it's how you finish. So we're gonna go there. So this fantasy boomers I was referring to, these were players that you wouldn't have normally expected to have such a shining game, right? Not like a top 10 or first round pick, not like a Bijan Robinson, Jamar Chase. This is people that may not have been rostered on a lot of people's team, might even still be out there on the waiver for you to pick up. But by the time you're hearing this, waiver wire we pass because waivers usually Wednesday. So if you hearing this and these players are still available, try to get them if you can. So I'm gonna start off by positions. We're gonna start with the quarterback position. So off the rip, I'm gonna go with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones. We talked about his stats earlier: 22 for 29, 272 passing yards, 1 passing touchdowns, 7 carries, 26 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, approximately 30 fantasy points. Each particular platform has different scorings. Some leagues you can customize your scoring, so it will range around there depending on how your scoring setups are.
And you're basing this off of a PPR league.
PPR leagues, yes. So these stats are based off of PPR leagues. Yep. Thank you for clarifying that. Next, number 2, Justin Fields.
Oh, well, hold on.
Yes.
Never mind. I'll let you get through your quarterbacks and then I'll ask my question.
All right. Second quarterback is Justin Fields. Again, we talked about him earlier today. He had a phenomenal showcase for the Jets. 16 for 22, 1 passing touchdown, 48 yards rushing with 2 rushing touchdowns. Around the same 30 fantasy points as Daniel Jones. Another quarterback from that game, Aaron Rodgers. You can't not recognize the 4 passing touchdowns that he had. 244 yards in the air. He had roughly 25 passing yards. Those passing touchdowns aren't valued as much as those rushing touchdowns. You get 4 for passing in most common leagues versus the 6 for rushing touchdowns. So that's why you see the disparity, or did I use that word right? Okay, the disparity between the points there. And my last quarterback, Michael Penix. This was a shocker to me. Me personally, I was a hater of Michael Penix. I didn't think he'd be that good. Team Cousins over here. I don't think they gave Kirk Cousins a fair shot. Last year was coming off of Achilles. Had that injury that we all know that they saw, but they still had him out there, and that kind of derailed him. But this is back to Michael Penix and shine a light on him. He went 27 for 42 attempts for 298 yards passing. I think he was top 5 in passing yards behind, of course, Josh Allen, who had that crazy game. Penix threw for 1 passing touchdown, ran for 1. He had around 24 fantasy points. Those are my quarterback boomers.
Okay, so are you suggesting that these are people we should pick up if available? Do you think that they're going to week 1 numbers are sustainable for these players? Is this...
Gotcha. So if you have backup, so I would pick these players up as backups, right? So if you're in a 10-league team, 10-man team, you primarily have all the top tier quarterbacks as your starters, right? Some of these players that I listed may not have been picked up as a backup. I know in every league I had, maybe outside of Justin Fields was a free agent in a lot of my leagues.
Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers were available Sunday.
All 4 of those quarterbacks are still available because the waivers ain't clear yet, so they're still available to be picked up in, I'd say, 5 out of the 7 leagues that I'm in. So These players are available. I had Tua as a backup in a lot. I no longer will
Drop
have
it.
Tua.
Drop him.
I had Matthew Stafford as a backup.
I'm
I'm
keeping
still on the
Matthew.
fence with Matthew Stafford, but the way the offense look, I don't know right now. I think they're going to still be running heavy, and again, like we've seen or we talked about Aaron Rodgers having 250 in the air, 4 pass touchdowns, only had 25 points compared to Justin Fields, who had 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown with 6 more points than him. So I'd lean more to the players that can possibly give me more of those rushing touchdowns or even rushing yards, because you get the extra point per 10 yards as well. So it depends on the point system of your league.
So you have a total of 14 players for fantasy boomers. I know you talked about the quarterbacks, but out of your 14 player list, throw out 2 names that you think folks should try to go after if they can.
Oh, for sure. Me personally, I'm gonna say Emeka Egbuka
I knew you were gonna say
for
him.
Tampa Bay.
I don't think he's available anywhere though.
He's not going to be available. He got drafted. He wasn't drafted. He might have been like a 7th or 8th round pick in most leagues, I'd say. The reason why I'm picking him is, one, Baker Mayfield's a gunslinger. He likes to pass the ball. He wants to pass the ball.
Yeah.
They're dealing with a ton of injuries right now with Chris Godwin still out, as well as I'm blanking on the other receiver that they had. That was the number 3 receiver when Evans and Godwin was healthy. He's out. I can't blank on his name, but this gives Ibuka a lot of targets now until at least Mike Evans comes back, and then even when Mike Evans comes back, they're gonna probably put Ibuka in the slot, which will give him an opportunity to get mismatches there. And the second person I want to say, this is a close one. I want to say Hollywood Brown right now, just because of the injury to Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, something like that.
We've seen with Xavier Worthy going out in the first opening drive, I believe, for the Chiefs. Hollywood Brown got 10 targets, 10 catches. I think it may have been a little bit more targets. But he had 10 catches in week 1. And the game plan wasn't even designed to go through him. The Chiefs' offense was set to go through Xavier Worthy. Yes. And he got knocked out of the game. So that kind of altered the Chiefs' full plans of what they were going to do. So for him to even get 10 catches with that game plan switching like that shows that Pat Mahomes is confident in him. Hollywood Brown's a fast player, so he kind of resembles Tyreek Hill without having that same speed as Tyreek Hill. And now that he's fully healthy, out.
So here's my question about Hollywood Brown, though. Everyone keeps talking, so I don't know how real this is, but the talk is Tyreek is not going to last a full season with the Dolphins, and he's going to make his way back to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Do you hold out? Because if Tyreek comes back, if Xavier's healthy, where does that leave Hollywood?
Well, Tyreek got to stay out of jail first with his coming legal issues.
Yeah, that's not going nowhere.
Listen, when I believe, it was with Chiefs. When Kareem Hunt, I think he started his career with the Chiefs. Kareem Hunt was their starting running back. He had some domestic issues, and they shut him down. I think they dropped him from the team. So I don't think.
Was it after they did their own investigation?
Yeah. He stopped.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is.
Paige,
I'm not going to put it on
Paige,
vinyl.
you think they're going to have someone that's being accused of domestic violence anywhere near Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, you're absolutely right.
There we go.
All right, so you said Hollywood Brown and Emeka Egbuka.
Honorable mention was Keenan Coleman. That was my
So I was going to ask about that. Do you think that he's really going to get these targets, or do you think that was a fluke game?
I think he's going to get those targets So I think the plan last year was initially for him to be the number one, but I think it took him some time to like get comfortable out there. And I think you can see towards the end of last year that that's when he started like blooming. Um, yeah, hey, from what I saw on film against the Ravens, who I thought going into that week had the best secondary, and he did that to that secondary. He might be the real deal for them. He might be the real deal.
All right, so I'm looking at your bus
Yes.
for week
Bruh.
one. I'm gonna hold on. I want to go through them because I have a lot to say.
But before you do, if you want to know why I went 0 for 7, I have 6 of the 8 people that were fantasy bust for week one. So
okay. So you have coming in at number. I mean, are they ranked in a particular order? Okay.
Yeah.
So you have Jamar Chase, who only had 4.6 fantasy points. AJ Brown, who had 1.8 fantasy points. My boy Devontae Smith at 4.6 points. Terry McLaurin 4.7. Xavier Worthy 0. Nico Collins 5.5. Joe Burrow 8.82, and Bo Nix for 6.84. So I have 1, 2, 3 of the players that you've listed, but I take exception probably with all 8 players. And so week one is a lie. I've been saying this every day since Sunday.
Favorite.
And everyone overreacts. Is this your bust? Is your bust list an overreaction? Or do you think this is just the result of chaos of week one and you shouldn't take it personal and to heart?
It's definitely chaos in week one. So the way you gotta think about it is that coming into week one, the players, the defenses that they're playing against, they're once they know the schedule, they're kind of planning their whole scheme around what week one is going to be, right? So for the Cowboys, they knew they'd be playing Eagles whenever the schedule released. So they're already designing how we're going to take away AJ Brown, how we're going to take away Smitty, how we're going to try to force, blase.
But why would they take that away when the run game is the Eagles' strongest point on offense?
What I'm saying is
no, I get you, but I'm just saying, like, why would that be?
I mean, maybe the Cowboys is a bad example because the Cowboys have a good secondary, so it's harder already with Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. Gotcha. So maybe that was a bad example, or I can't really even use the Browns because the Browns have a good secondary and a defense as well. So what I'm trying to say is that these defenses had all this time to prepare for who their offensive counterparts would be and kind of work to get themselves ready for that.
Yes.
I don't expect Jamar Chase to have 2 catches for 26 yards ever again in the season.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I take exception to that.
And I did leave out Dak on here. Dak had 8 points, so my threshold was like at. Oh no, I had Joe Burrow at 8.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't think Dak was in that top 5 quarterback window or top 10 quarterback windows. That's why I kept Bo Nix and not Dak, because Bo Nix was.
Yeah, because I have Joe Burrow and Bo Nix,
I did too. And I had Dak, and he gave me 8. So, and I also didn't put Cam Ward because he's a rookie, because he had 2 points. Tua had.
Were people drafting him?
No, he was a free agent in pretty much all the leagues I saw him in. But yeah, that's how my week one went. Yeah,
so here, let me talk about why I take issue. I think you pretty much hit it on the head with Jamar Chase. This was an outlier. I don't think he's going to be 4.6 points. He's like one of the best wide receiver ones in the league. AJ is still a top 10
for sure.
I think there's probably more chances of him having more low scoring weeks compared to a Jamar Chase because Eagles rely so heavily on the run game. Yeah. But I would not call AJ Brown a bust.
This is week 1 bust. This is not.
Yeah, I know,
all-time
but I
things.
know. But I'm just saying that's why I'm taking exception.
Yeah.
Smitty, you know how I feel about him personally. And also I think it depends on when you drafted, what round you drafted him.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin hurt my feelings. And let me tell you why Terry McLaurin hurt my feelings. Because, number one, he's on my team. Number two, because the numbers that he put up last season, even though I know folks are like, that's unsustainable. He's not going to have as many touchdowns as he did. But what, like, really stuck the knife and twisted it for me was the game that Deebo Samuels had this past week. And I had him last year, and he did absolutely the poop trash for me.
That's fantasy for you. That's NFL in a nutshell, too.
Yeah, so with that, do you think with the addition of Deebo and I guess how well he played Sunday and Terry not participating that much in the offseason because of the contract dispute, do you think this is something to be concerned about? Do you think Debo's really going to put up these kind of numbers and Terry is going to take a hit? Will they complement each other the way that Jamar and T do? What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts on this, and well, let me answer that question. So no, I don't think this is a number you can expect from every week. I think his numbers will return to normal. The Giants, on paper, I thought also had top defense going into this season. Pretty much,
they burned
all
me.
of these players went against, with the exception of the Broncos with Bo Nix. I don't think the Titans' defense is as good as they were last year. But for everyone else, who did the Texans play? They played the Rams.
Yeah.
They were flustering C.J. Stroud the whole game, and they don't have a run game because Joe Mixon's hurt, and their running back situation
He's on my bench.
Their running back situations is wild right now, and they lost their best left tackle, Laramie Tinsley, to Washington. So you got now CJ's blind side is not protected. I don't know who they.
I feel like
with.
CJ's just being set up for failure, and I don't understand why. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't feel like they did that great of a job in the off season.
I don't understand the decisions they made in the off season. It's very questionable because they didn't bring in anyone really to add value. They was it Nick Chubb? But they said Nick Chubb is like a shell of himself. Like, he's not the same Nick Chubb we know. So it's going to be a tough pickings for them going forward. But yeah, I think all these players, they just had tough week 1 matchups against top defenses with good secondaries. So again, I don't think you should be concerned going forward.
So here's my last question. Because majority of the people that you play, these are like starters. Half of them are kind of set it and forget it kind of players in your fantasy leagues. Do we still set these players and forget them? Are there any on your list that we should think second on starting versus benching and putting someone else in?
It's based on matchups, and as the season gets further along and you see like the trends that are developing with the matchups that they're playing against, like how does Team A play against slot receivers, like those type of situations, because that's the things that they look for, like in the quarterback room where they can identify a matchup. So it really is going to come down to those as the season goes on, what the matchups look like. Like if I have,
you're giving the most lawyerly answer right now. Well, it depends.
It depends. Like it's I can't give you a definite.
But so out of the 8 people, none of those folks are a set it and forget it kind of player.
Oh, you're talking from the fantasy bus.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I thought we were going back to like the boomer. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, I'm setting them and forgetting them for
all 8. Is there any of the 8 that you've listed?
Well, Xavier Worthy right
now.
Well,
yeah. Let's exclude him because that's an injury issue.
If I had to take someone off not to start, it'd probably be. You might not like me for saying that. I might say Smitty. I feel like Smitty is usually like the odd man out in that trio between AJ, Saquon, and Jalen Hurts. Like he gets the leftover value to say the least. But he does a lot with that leftover value. You don't gotta look at me like that. I'm just saying what I think happens in that.
No, I agree. I want Smitty to get the ball more.
And then we seen the emergence of Dallas Goedert in week 1. He had all his targets. He had 7 targets, 7 catches.
He did not give me many points.
Yeah, he didn't get yards with it, but
I feel like I only had 7 or 9 points from him.
You get 7 points for which league is he in? If he's in your work league, half point per reception, so that sucks. Which I don't play in half PPR leagues, so half PPR leagues rely more on touchdowns versus catches. So
yeah, he's in my work league. Yeah, he only gave me 7.9 points.
Yeah, so regular fantasy he would even 12 because he got 7 catches and then he gets a point per 10 yards. But I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure of the settings that your league is being ran with.
All right. Any final thoughts on fantasy?
Week like Paige says, week 1's a liar. Don't let week 1 deter you from having a successful fantasy run, fantasy season, and again, you win fantasy in the waivers, not from your draft. So make sure you're identifying the people that had successful weeks. Try to put those waivers in for them.
But you can lose fantasy based off your draft.
You could. If you have a bad draft, you're going to have to do a lot of work to rebuild your team out with the waivers, and it's not the easiest. All right. Some players wrote their own origin story in week 1. Others are about to be a sequel bait.
It's only the first reel, people. And that wraps up our week 1 horror show.
From chaotic clashes to spiritual struggles, the NFL storytelling is off to a terrifyingly good start.
If you love the Carnage, give us a 5-star rating, share with your fantasy league, and follow us wherever screams are streamed.
Until then, watch your waiver wire and watch your back.
This has been Gridiron Gore.